Most high performers aren't stuck because they aren't working hard enough. They're stuck because they're working hard as the wrong versions of themselves. I'm talking about that version of you that was built by what your industry rewarded, or what your parents valued, by what made you feel successful back when you were 20, 21, 22. That version is running your decisions right now, and most people never stop to question it. I spent years operating this way myself. At one point, I was running 5 different revenue streams at one time, telling myself that the busyness meant that I was making progress. I was not making progress. I was just moving really fast in a direction or 5 directions that I never really chose. And so every client I now work with, before we touch the strategy, the systems, the optimization, the automations, we go here first. Because I've seen what happens when you skip it, and I've lived through what it costs. Seeing people all around you consistently outperform you despite lesser ability, lesser intelligence, lesser resources even, and that constant feeling of knowing that you're destined for more. Today I'm going to show you exactly what that identity trap looks like, how to tell you're in it, and why it's the one thing keeping capable people stuck at the same level no matter what else they change. Because if you don't fix this, I can assure you, you will be exactly where you are a year from now. Understand this. Your identity is not who you are. It's who you've decided you are. And you usually make that decision under pressure or super early on, or maybe based on a set of feedbacks or rewards that you've felt in your environment, in your upbringing or previous employment experience, friendships, relationships, you name it. And a lot of times that screenshot never updates. You keep growing in a lot of different ways, but your internal image of yourself stays fixed at that earlier version. But the problem that you're running into now is when your goals require a version of you that your current identity does not support, you don't fail at execution. Usually you're the one sabotaging it every time, automatically, and you don't even notice. Because at the end of the day, our identity sets that threshold, sets that ceiling or upper limit to what we're capable of. And any amount of strategy or effort or intelligence operates within that limit, within those confines. So no matter how much you try to optimize or jump into Claude code or delegate and automate, none of it will push you past that ceiling that lives at an identity level. Think about it a bit like a thermostat. And your identity is set to a certain temperature. You can grind, work hard, and heat up that room a little bit. But the moment you stop, the moment that momentum slacks a little bit, the thermostat brings the room right back down to the temperature that it's set at and that it knows. You might have heard this analogy from Ed Milet. I believe he goes into it in The Power of One More. And a few other people who have referred to it sometimes refer to thermostat from a money standpoint, your financial thermostat. But you can apply it to really anything in life. But it's the reason why capable people might hit a revenue number or a certain body composition or body weight, maybe have some level of relationship quality that they thought they wanted, and then immediately start to drift back to their internal setting. Not because they stopped trying or anything once they achieved it, but because that thermostat is still set to the old temperature. And so no amount of effort is going to change that setting. It actually takes a moment of stillness to get really clear and understand how to shift that setting, because it takes a totally different kind of work than you're used to. I've been working with a client who's been stuck at the same revenue threshold for close to 4 years now. He's great at what he does, super disciplined, extremely strong work ethic, executing every week, in the gym, nonstop, all the habits that you would identify as someone that's a high performer. So you could argue on paper everything looked good, but on that identity layer, what we found and understood is that his internal picture of who he was still calibrated to a version of himself in his career 3 years ago, when he first started getting into his industry and getting into his pursuits. And every time he felt himself moving a little bit past that threshold, something would pull him right back into it, and he couldn't understand why. And each time, there was a different reason, but each time, there was that same ceiling. And so we took the time to dig deep and address that layer and really reset and then upgrade his internal operating system. And from that point forward, his revenue started to incrementally climb more and more consistently for the first time in years, with the same skills, the same work ethic, but just a different internal operating picture. And now within the next month or two, he'll be 4xing his previous income over the past 4 years, just over the next 365 days. So here's how to know if it's happening to you and how to fix it. There's a part of you that feels maybe even more comfortable explaining why you're almost there than actually being there, whatever that goal is. You work hard right up to the edge of that next level, and then something just finds a way to pull you right back. Maybe it's a bad hire in the business or a bad deal that you made, a health setback, a relationship struggle. Never the same reason twice, but nonetheless, that ceiling stays right there. Now, I have good news. It's not bad luck, but the bad news is that's your thermostat at work. If you felt that before, if you feel like there's just always something that keeps you stuck right where you are, despite always feeling like you're figuring it out and getting right up to the edge, hit that subscribe button, because there's a whole architecture to understanding this, and that's what I'm mapping out here on this channel. Now, when it comes to turning up that thermostat and how to do it, this is the first layer of what I call your internal operating system, your iOS. And before diving into the different roles you're playing, or your values, or your goals, which are all a part of your performance identity, which you can check out in the video I'll leave linked below. But before all that, we go here. Resetting that system and understanding what your thermostat is set to on an identity level. Because the structure that you try to build on top of an otherwise fixed identity will just amplify all your limitations. So before anything else, you have to open that up so that it has the capability to be improved rather than staying fixed where it is. Because you cannot optimize your way past an identity ceiling. You can only raise it. So if you can recognize yourself in that, the pattern, the ceiling, the drift, I want you to go to my Instagram and comment the word clarity or DM it to me directly so that I can reach out directly to you and help you understand how to map out and upgrade your internal operating system so you can turn up that temperature permanently. That's where the conversation starts, and it's the only place to have it. I'm keeping this one short and sweet because I want you to take action on turning that temperature up. See you in the next one. Peace.